Let's get this special show started. Okay, we are checking in on your mental state because it's something that is so important to everyone. I truly believe that this pandemic has changed all of our lives, and that change has lasted longer than many of us have anticipated. So we're check in this morning with our first guest. Please help me welcome back to the show, friend Susan Harrington of Maison V. Hello, Susan. I can't believe it. 1 year since coronavirus.
Isn't that amazing that we thought it would end last year and it didn't, and it's already a year later. It just goes by fast and slow at the same time. How we got here, it's amazing.
Where we're going is something that's so much better. And I want to talk to you about the mental health portion because, as you know, I'm really passionate about figuring out how we can have better mental health. You know, there's so many messages out there, right? Sometimes we don't even know who to believe because there is so much out there being reported on. There are these things called mental blind spots that you feel is the result of some of our decision making. Tell me a little bit more about these three mental blind spots.
So, mental blind spots are our lay name for cognitive biases. And this is something that our neurological cognitive psychologists have discovered when they're following our brains and what we do, how we make decisions. So, what happens is, for all of us, we use these three aspects to make some decisions, and they can be good decisions or bad decisions. However, when we use these three mental blind spots specifically to make decisions, we end up with a bad or a poorer decision than we would have because they're emotionally led. So this first one that you see, anchoring biases, is that when we anchor into the first thing we learn that we prefer to learn. So for example, I'm going to stick with the pandemic theme. If I heard in the beginning, oh, when I wear this mask, I can't breathe, and that's what I want to hear, it's what I prefer to hear, that's what I stick to, it's what I learn. I anchor into that belief. And I believe that no mask is right and that I don't need to do it. So then we move into the normalcy bias. And normalcy bias is when our gut belief in our life is unchanging. We like things to stay normal. We all know that phrase really well. And so normalcy bias is when we take this belief of, I don't want to wear a mask because I can't breathe, and it transitions into, I don't need to wear a mask. I'm not going to get sick. We advance it further and further, and that is my normal. I want to stick with what I know. I don't want to adjust to what's happening.
And emotional contagion, I want to get to that one as well.
The emotional contagion is the one where we look at the perspective of the authority we believe in. So this is where it becomes really important last year, and the difference in the bipartisan and how we voted and what happened. Because if the politician that I voted for says, no, you don't need to wear a mask, it doesn't work, then I'm going to stick with it because it also supports my anchored bias and it supports my normalcy bias, right? So I'm going to stick with this concept of masks don't work. I voted for him, you believe that, and so I believe that because it's an emotional decision.
And it's not good to have these, which I think is so important. So, how do we make better decisions? How do we not fall into one of these mental blind spots?
Right. It's really important, right? Because when we let our mental blind spots lead us, then I make a poor decision and I blame everybody else of what's happening. I don't take responsibility for my part in it. And so making a different decision is it's a simple, but not easy. So that's a phrase from the 12-step program that we think about that applies here. And it's simple because it's just 4 steps. It's really cool. However, to challenge ourselves to look at how I think about me and what I think about my thoughts and how I come up with it, I don't want to see that I'm wrong. So the first thing that we need to do after we become aware that maybe I need to check myself, right, is to educate myself. So we're basing this, the anchoring bias is on a past learning. So if I move myself into current facts, as the facts change, as CDC learned, as science learned, our facts changed. And so we need to look at the current data. So for example, you listed those great facts in the beginning, but we also have, since mid-February, for example, I looked those up a while back, our vaccination rate was going up 9% a week. More people were getting vaccinated. Our case reporting went down 39%. We're doing really well in recovering, despite all the waves of negative votes, negative stats versus positive stats. And so because of those waves, that's how we get the unwanted deaths. That's how we get the severe cases. And that results in us having this fatigue. So we need to educate ourselves, find out what the facts are.
It's so true. I mean, there's so many things out there. And, unfortunately, we are out of time. Look, if you need help, everyone, go and make an appointment with Maison Vie Therapy and Counseling. You're seeing the contact information on your screen. 504-452-5937 is the address, or rather the phone number. The address is 1799 Stumps Boulevard, Building 5, Suite 1 in Tarrytown. Go and learn more about how we can get out of this pandemic fatigue. And stay tuned, everyone. A lot more coming up on our COVID 1 year later show. Stick with us. Be right back.